Herzlichen Dank. Diesen brauche ich noch kurz. Ich wechsle jetzt auf Englisch, so I'm going to switch into English. Education, learning, education 4.0, Bildung 4.0. Maybe you saw on the program that in this afternoon we're going to see the number 4.0 a few times today. Whether it's industry 4.0, whether it's job 4.0, whether it's learning or education 4.0. As of education 4.0, there, as of today, well, I checked this morning, it wasn't there, maybe it's there now, I don't know. There isn't even a Wikipedia entrance to what is education 4.0. So the definition of that is actually, nobody knows, but the term pops up everywhere. Also, the 4.0, we just like to put numbers on it. I don't know if anybody knows where actually those 4.0s come from. It's based on the web. So it used to be web 1.0, and then it evolved into 2.0, and now we're at the web 4.0, so everything else we do, we like to call it 4.0. You can see it's education and it's learning. Those two are two distinctly different things. Learning can happen without education. Children learn, babies learn, we learn. We don't even need to have an official education to it. The other way around also works. We can have education without learning. That also happens, unfortunately, but it is sometimes the case. Speakers after me are going to go into further detail about the Industrial Revolution, the Industry 4.0. I just want to add this because education is at the base. Basically, we need to know what kind of industry we are preparing our kids and our teenagers for. So basically, we need to know what is happening after that time period. What do they need to have? What do they need to have in their backpack to be prepared for that future that's going to come? So actually, as of the speakers today, we should have maybe flipped it around and say, what is needed? How do we get there? So how can we shape our educational system to be prepared for that future? Also, I read an article just recently that the fourth revolution, now there are going to be very powerful applications combining blockchain with artificial intelligence and with IoT devices, that those three are now starting to merge together. Now, this is a very, very powerful tool for future, and how do we prepare our kids for that? How do we tackle the fears of the parents and the fears of the teachers? Are our kids going to have jobs? And what are they going to do? So what skills do they need? What my question is education 4.0, or whatever number you would like to give it, is it an imperative for the success of the fourth industrial revolution? Is it needed? Is it the prerequisite? And my opinion is very clearly yes. Without having our educational system and the learning prepared for that future, we're going to have a really hard time of getting that industrial 4.0 off the ground in like a broad system, in a broad way. There are several studies that show what do we need to know, what skills do we need to bring into our work situation. And this one is, I think, 2 or 3 years old. You might have seen this one swirls around the internet everywhere. That says future work skills of 2020. We can also summarize it into several C's, as of communication, collaboration, creativity, critical thinking, and I add computational thinking. So we can basically put that down into those 5 things. Now, you see here many things, and what I'd like you to focus is the date, the year, 2020. It used to sound very far away. Now we're already October, so we can say in 14 months, this is reality. Whew. That's very fast. Can we change that fast, that we can do that within 14 months? Are the kids that are going to graduate in 2019, that are entering in 2020, are they prepared? Are they there yet? Are the teachers there yet? Are institutions there yet? Just leave that one open. So there are a few more of those. We're in schools a lot. We talk a lot to parents, to teachers, to schoolmasters. And what we see now is that the the conversations that I have, the decisions that those head of schools are now making are based on, do we need an iPad or do we need an Android system? Which technology do we use? So the question that now is in a lot of schools and a lot of heads of the people is, how do we get technology into the classroom? And I question, is that the right question to ask? Or maybe not. We have a situation in the schools, and a lot of people also say, well, they're kids, they should go into forced playgroup. Now, I've got 2 daughters myself, and they love, they're now too old, but they loved forced playgroup. Mud, head to toe, completely covered. They didn't care, I didn't care. I just let them play. But the other situation is screen time. How quick, how fast do we put our children in front of screens? Now, inside the classroom, that's a big discussion, when should they start? But outside the classroom, we've got a completely different way. A study from Deloitte showed that by 3-year-old kids, that's like the average age where they start to use learning apps, ABCs, 1, 2, 3s, learning shapes, learning colors. By the time they're 5, it's 2/3 of all kids already experienced some kind of digital learning. So basically, our education system is lagging behind because that's the home situation. There is a nice saying of Charles Kettering, and I'm just going to read it out loud for you. If we taught music the way we try to teach engineering in an unbroken 4-year course, we could end up with all the theory, no music. When we study music, we start to practice from the beginning, and we practice for the entire time. So with music, it works. There it's okay to practice. There it's okay to just do, to start, to, like forced playgroup, just experience. And I have the feeling in our educational system, we kind of lose that experience type into a more academic way of learning. And not all kids learn in an academic way. They learn by doing. They like to touch, they like to feel, they like to experiment. So why not use that intrinsic interest of the kids to learn? Also the difference, it's a small side step, the difference between learning and education. And I see that also, we're now slowly running up to Christmas, although the weather is still very nice outside. With Christmas or January 1st, like probably a lot of you here, I make a thing and I go to my next door gym and I buy an expensive gym membership. And I say, now this year I'm gonna be fit because in summer I wanna cycle, I wanna hike all the mountains. By the time I reach summer, my fitness has not changed. It might even be worse than before, if hopefully not. But so I try to educate myself. I actually know how to do it, but I haven't really done it, and the result is the same. So we should focus more on results. If we educate, what are the results? Are they tangible? Can we grasp it? Has there been any learning, or did we just educate? The question that I think we need to ask, all of us, is not, as I put before, how does technology get into the classroom, but how should education be shaped to have a place inside a technological future? I think this is the question we should ask ourselves, and how to do that. Now, you can start with the kids, you can start with the parents, you also have to start with the educational institutions, you have to start with the teachers. So basically, the whole system as such needs to change. Sir Ken Robinson, he's a very known person in that field. He said, and I think it was 2 years ago, he said, we're standing, and maybe we can do it like this here, we're standing in front of an abyss, or do I say, it's like an educational free fall, if you like to. We're just moving slowly forward. We're changing the educational system, a little bit here, a little bit there, we're trying out a little bit there. But by all, we're still going forward towards this massive cliff. So what I propose is that we should not fall down the cliff and have everything being turned upside down. But we should change directions, and we should change it quickly. As you see, it's 2020, we've got 14 months. Now, I'm not quite sure if we're going to make that. But we need to really start thinking, and how do we educate? How do we educate the educators? How do we educate the kids to be able to not fall down that cliff? I'm a startup. I'm 2 years old startup. So I'm in all those startup scenes. They all said, experiment, try, test, do, just go, just move something. Move something within education is very difficult because nobody wants to do it wrong. And there are worldwide lots of private schools, that take a completely different approach, that completely flip everything upside down. They make learning spaces. There are no teachers, there are coaches. They're experimenting, they're trying to get that intrinsic learning from a child, to keep that alive. The creativity, you can build, you can make mistakes. It's okay, just try again, stand up and go. There hasn't been a 14-month-old baby that said after one day of trying to walk, oh, that's not gonna work, forget about it. Gets up and keep on going. Why are we losing that ability? Why don't we think more like that? Just keep on going. At some point it will work. It might not be the right way, and yes, we're going to hurt ourselves, but we're going to get there. So I want to see more testing, just experimenting. And private schools are doing it completely way around. There are a lot of private schools that I have to say, that might not have worked. That might be quite rubbish, actually. But it's okay, because we learn, we get better. We know, okay, that way didn't work. Let's do the other way, let's try that. So more open mentality to the whole system. Just try. Doing nothing is, in my opinion, even worse, because we're heading toward that cliff. I put this in because there are no real definitions of what Education 4.0 is, so this is my attempt to get it into the 1 to 4 situation. So Education 1 is memorization. We used to sit with our elders and listen. Well, we all not, but a long time ago. Sit around the campfire and listen, and that's how we learned, to their stories, to their experiences. Then Education 2.0, they say it's the internet-enabled learning. So you have children going online, finding their own information that they seek, that they learn, that they can implement. I think that is happening more and more. We need to educate the children in how to use that information that they're finding, fake news, etc., big issues. Then there's 3 and 4, and there it's getting more or less a little bit more difficult to define it. So we have a consuming and producing knowledge. And the 4.0 will be empowering innovation, and that's where I want to end up. That's like my vision, that we enable our children to be constant learners, to be innovators, to think more freely, to keep that will of just get up and go, just keep on going. Both my daughters are in primary school, and I see that with every year, there's a little bit less creativity around. With every year, it's a little bit more academic. And I think in future, as we all see, it's really important that they keep their creativity. It's as important as basically everything else. That's what I really want to pressure, that's being still there. There's a small example of how computational thinking can be included. Now I go through this very quick. It's the Wolfram language. So you define questions, you translate it to math, you compute the answers, and you interpret the results. Most things schools do is spend most of the time at the compute answers. You're not going to compute your answers when you're in a working place. The computer computes. So why should we spend that much time computing? That's just one example where a different mindset is needed. Thank you very much for your attention.